I'm Chris Burns, and welcome to The Network, where we connect into a matrix of newsmakers to get to the heart of an issue. And watch out, they've got to answer in 25 seconds or less, or else. Let's take a look at that issue right now. France's presidential runoff was a race more closely fought in the end, as both candidates made gestures, some more subtle, some more obvious, to a far right that came in third in the first round. President Nicolas Sarkozy made borders, read immigration and crime, a major issue. François Hollande made clear the doors are not wide open. They called for more growth-related policies on the EU level, be it with spending or a more stimulatory European Central Bank, to fight an unemployment rate hovering near 10%, nearly 3 million people. Where they diverged was on how Elysée Palace should change France's taxation and spending policies. Sarkozy called for fiscal rigor, while Hollande urged a loosening of the fiscal strings to spur sluggish growth. The battle now turns to June legislative elections, as the new president's policies can only be successful with a cooperative National Assembly. That race has just begun. Now wired into this edition of the network is, here from the European Parliament, Corien Wortmann-Kool, Dutch MEP and Vice Chair of the European People's Party in the Parliament. That includes Mr. Sarkozy's UMP. Hannes Swoboda, Austrian MEP and Chair of the group of the Progressive Alliance and Democrats in the Parliament, which includes Mr. Hollande's Socialists. And from his constituency in Bristol, Sir Graham Watson, MEP and President of the European Liberal Democrat and Reform Party. Welcome to all of you. Let me ask a question for all of you, starting with Hannes. Hannes, with Mr. Hollande having won, what is the likelihood of the European Union's fiscal treaty being renegotiated as he had called for?
Well, you have to demand much to get something, and I think the something is an interpretation of the so-called structural deficit, in the sense that investment into growth are not part of the deficit. So you can invest and you must invest without enlarging your deficit. This is the main message, and this he will get.
Corien, does this fiscal treaty, is it in danger, you think?
Well, the path presented by Mr. Swoboda is a dangerous one. Also, Mr. Hollande presented this, because we can't spend money we don't have. So we definitely need a growth strategy, but that's the growth strategy of President Draghi and of the EPP group. And this means reforms and also cutting public spendings. That's what we need.
Sir Graham, what do you think? There have been a lot of noises, not just from Mr. Hollande, about renegotiating or changing, tweaking this fiscal treaty.
Well, rather worrying noises, I think. Look, there's no chance of changing this treaty. The Germans needed it to be prepared to help out other countries. We've done it. We're not going to go back on it. What you can do, however, is what Mario Draghi at the European Central Bank is suggesting. You can accompany it with growth-friendly policies. And it may well be that we need to do something to advance spending from future years to spend on infrastructure that's going to help kickstart growth.
Mr. Hollande will be under pressure to take quick action ahead of the legislative elections next month. What do you expect him to accomplish, especially in light of the fact that the far right was so very important in that first round of the presidential election? Madam Kool.
Well, what is clear is that he has not only to convince the European Commission that he comes forward with credible policies, but also the financial markets, because they will definitely respond when he doesn't come forward with convincing policies on cutting budget and also implementing reforms to achieve economic growth.
Okay, but Hannes, but as far as quick action, is there going to be any action that would address some of the concerns that people who voted for the far right had?
We need investment, and from the right wing, also from the colleagues here, I hear only words. We need investment. There is money. There is money, especially in the financial market.
Okay, but not just on the economic level. So not just on the economic level. I'm saying on immigration, on security, and other things.
The economic level is very important to show the social justice. And Hollande said we need social justice. That means another kind of tax policy. And that means, of course, investing into education, into the social fabric, the social infrastructure. This is important because the right wing is gaining, especially the extremists, are gaining from the lack of social justice in Europe today.
Sir Graham, what do you think? Could there be other policies beyond economics that Mr. Hollande could be making quick wins with?
Well, look, of course, I'm not against investing in education, but I think his pledge to create 62,000 new teaching jobs, like his pledge to cut the retirement age from some workers from 62 to 60, is frankly irresponsible. And I think what he will find is that his room for manoeuvre will be determined by the financial markets and the rating on France's debt, rather than by anything that he wants to do.
Corien, what do you think on that? Do you agree with him?
Yes, I absolutely agree with Graham, and we really run the risk that this not only affects, say, France and the stability with regard to the financial markets, but the whole of Europe, because last autumn we really decided on convincing policies, the markets calmed down, but now we have to implement reforms, because we need jobs not only for today, but also for the next decades to go.
Okay. Hannes, we're ganging up on you, sorry, but how do you answer that?
Well, I'm sorry my colleagues don't accept the reality and don't accept that the people of Europe don't longer accept it. They don't accept it in France, not in Greece. Therefore, we have to change. And finally, also, what is very important is that Hollande has a different concept on migration, on integration. So he wants a real society which is taking all on board, especially fight against unemployment. This breakup in Europe, which is visible every day, is very dangerous. It's like between the First and Second World War. More people go to the extremes, and our colleagues with whom I'm discussing now don't see the danger for Europe and European unification.
No.
Corien, you're shaking your head.
Yes, of course, though I completely disagree, because when you look to the outcome, it was only a small victory for François Hollande, and both Hollande and the winning parties in Greece, they together don't have a credible alternative. We need, we live beyond our means. We spend every day too much money, and we have to face reality.
The alternative of Mercosi is bringing a disaster. You don't bring even balanced budget. It's unsocial, but also economically not effective.
Go ahead,
Hannes,
Sir Graham.
Corien is right. One of the reasons we're in this mess is because socialist governments like Gordon Brown's government in the UK, PASOK in Greece, have spent far more than they've taken in. Now, it's not only socialist governments who've done this, but it's happened in Spain as well. And you have to deal with, you need responsible...
Don't make this.
Let me pitch this.
You need responsible public finance management.
Let me pitch this over to Corien, because Corien, you can talk about reason, you can talk about budgetary austerity, but there are voters out there who are angry, and they voted in France, and they voted in Greece, and they voted elsewhere with pressure on politicians to do something about growth.
Yes, we really have to be more convincing and more clear about our message.
Does that mean more on monetary policy, trying to get the ECB to loosen up a little bit? And what about Eurobonds?
No. Eurobonds for the moment is dangerous, because Eurobonds can only fly with even more tighter budgetary discipline, because don't forget, outside are the financial markets. So let's take our responsibility, and I really call on Hannes Swoboda, on the Socialists, to do so. Together we can have a growth pact, but that has to be a responsible one.
Can I switch this over again to Hannes? Chancellor Merkel supported Mr. Sarkozy. Mr. Hollande is scheduled to make his first presidential foreign trip to Germany. How much is the Franco-German engine in trouble, and EU politics in trouble, because of what Mr. Hollande had said during the campaign?
It's not in trouble if Merkel recognizes that her policy has been voted down. In France, in Greece, we cannot see the disaster, see the political disappointment of citizens and say, just go on, make it even more strict. This is not possible. No. This is not going away. And we have fiscal discipline. Wortmann-Kool is one of the authors. We have the six-pack. We have now the two-pack in the parliament, two legislative acts which will really go for growth and fiscal discipline at the same time.
Yeah.
Corien?
Yeah, well, that's exactly the message. We need fiscal discipline and growth, and not at the detriment of spending more public money we don't have. That is the issue.
We do.
Then that perhaps means, go ahead.
And Corien, voters are right to be angry, Not that governments have pursued austerity policies, but that we have failed sufficiently to pursue growth policies, that we've failed to get the European single market working properly, that we've failed to do trade agreements with third countries which could help to lift growth, that we've failed to invest in super-fast broadband across the European Union, or to invest more in electricity transmission networks or transport networks, the kind of things that will bring growth.
I'm going to have to leave it at that. Thank you so much. I wish I could continue for another half hour, but that's all the time we've got for now. I'd like to thank our guests, Corien Wortmann-Kool, Hannes Swoboda, and Sir Graham Watson. I'm Chris Burns, and until next time, thanks for connecting with The Network.